Hi, class. That's my favorite consumer behavior overhead. There's nothing there's nothing she can do. She's just getting sucked right in there. Can't fight the feeling. I have a male version of that. I show a guy his clothes being ripped off while when he's walking past the hardware store. But we'll stick with this one. It's one of my favorite. Gary Larson, Far Side. One of my he's doing more stuff. You can find him online actually. After 15 years hiatus, no more serial stuff or whatever syndicated stuff through my newspapers, but online. Okay, enough of this. Here's the topic, and this is going to take a while. So I'm set up here to do this, and I'm going to do it. I'm going to do the whole thing. So we'll say goodbye to the lady. I don't know if that's ever happened to you, but so here I am really here. Hi, and we're into the second outline on consumer behavior. Primarily, chapter 5 is what we're looking at. I'm going to pick up some little pieces other places here today, but chapter 5, my favorite chapter, and so we had the first outline on consumer behavior, this one, okay, and we had the steps of the decision process, problem recognition, search for information, generate some alternatives, evaluate the alternatives, come up with a choice, and then some outcomes of the choice. That's that decision process. And then we looked at some things down the left-hand side here. I had that flipped around when I was talking about it in the last video, the last pre-recorded video. So on the left-hand side there, we've got some items that we said impact that decision process in a general, with regard to the speed and the way you go through the process. So we had some things there, familiarity, involvement, risk, okay? Some of those things, you remember that from that lecture. And kind of built up, so those things impact the speed folks go through this process, the way they go through it, they might skip steps. And then we looked at this decision-making model, kind of a learning model down here. Extensive problem solving at one end, limited response in the middle, and then routine response at the other end. So the main ones to think about are the extensive problem solving and the routine response. And so we did that. Okay, that was the first outline. But wait. There's another outline here, okay? And this is what it looks like. There's our decision process down the middle. Problem recognition, search for information, generate the alternatives, and you evaluate them. Choice, outcomes of the choice, okay? Satisfaction, dissatisfaction, cognitive dissonance as outcomes, okay? And here we've got 3 broad categories of variables that impact this decision process in a general sort of way. So what I've done, I've bracketed it off. It took a long time to draw those beautiful brackets there. I bracketed that decision process off and say, I don't know if it impacts the speed and the way like in that other diagram, but here's some things that influence, have sway over decisions consumers make. And so if you dancing around here I am. I've got these 3 categories here. This says intrapersonal. What's that? That's within the person. That's psychological kind of variables. Intra, within, okay? We have a sampling there. I'm going to talk about a little sampling. And then down here we have interpersonal, between people. And this is sociological. So up here, intra, within the person, psychological variables. Down here, interpersonal, between people, sociological kind of variables. And then at the very bottom, we have another category called situational. And we'll have a couple of things there, okay? So we've got these three categories of variables that impact this decision process in a general sort of way: intrapersonal, psychological, interpersonal, sociological, and situational variables, things that impact because of the situation you find yourself in. And so we got this bracketed off here, and we say that, okay, we say that, yeah, I got an arrow down here from psychological impact in that process. We got an arrow up here from sociological impact in that process. And then situational, we've got it impact in the process, but then we got another extra arrow from situation. I'll explain it. So down here, situational. We got an arrow going up to the process in general, like the other two. And then we've got this arrow going right to choice, direct from situation. I'll explain that. So that's the outline we're working with. And that's a little exposure to it. I want to find my paper clip here. Put it up here just because that'll motivate you, because you can't read it, and it'll motivate you to go get your hot little hands on that so you can follow what I'm doing. Okay, so that kind of orients us. We're in chapter 5, and here we go. We've got a little sampling of variables that we're going to use under these 3 headings: intra, psych, inter, soc, situation. And here's what I've got. Let's see if I can adjust this. Oh, that's not working like I'd like it to. Here, let me do this. There'll be no discontinuity here. No discontinuity whatsoever. There's our diagram or our outline for this topic, right? And here's the first one. We're looking at these intra, things within the people, and linking it up to some page numbers in the textbook, and just a little exposure. This is a sampling, okay? So here we've got the topic of learning and impacting this decision process. You think we're looking at consumers making decisions in the marketplace. So learning, how do you learn things? Well, here's a little picture I've got of how you learn things, okay? There's the little picture. So learning in general. And I've got 2 broad categories of learning here: cognitive learning and associative learning. So back to that prior diagram, I'll go back to it. Learning you find out on page 124, and I'll show you that in a bit. But here we've got these approaches to learning that I see as being an operation when consumers are in the marketplace, okay? So the first one is cognitive learning. And cognitive learning is rational, it's goal-oriented, it's logical, it's restructuring, it's recombining existing ideas. I should look at you, but I'm looking at, okay, maybe I move this a little bit so I don't have to look so far that way. Recombining ideas, okay? And you do this in the marketplace. I mean, you use cognitive learning, rational, restructuring of information, goal-oriented, getting insights and ideas from things. Here's my wife, Linda, and our dog, Fifi. This is Linda right here. That's Linda. And this is Fifi, okay? You think that's Photoshop? So there's Linda and our dog, Fifi, okay? And Linda and I want to be competent dog owners, and we want to have a healthy, happy dog. We want Fifi to be happy. You can see, look at her. What a cute pup that is, okay? And so here's what we found out. So what's our goal? Competent dog owners, happy, healthy Fifi. And we see some information out there. We see maybe I mentioned it. I mentioned this before when we talked about dog demographics. Cycle dog food. And it says, you know, dogs have different nutritional needs throughout their life. You know, we've got the puppy right here, and we've got the adult dog, and we got the old dog, whatever. We got adult, senior dog. Down here we got the fat dog. Okay, no offense, dog. And so Linda and I think, oh yeah, that makes sense. You know, we have goals in mind. We have a rational, logical, think about it, assess the information. Marketers work with this. Cycle dog food, kind of giving you information. And you think about other products, give you this cognitive, rational, logical kind of approach to things. That's one type of learning. You learn things that way, right? Here's another type of learning, and that's associative or conditioning approaches to learning. Down here we have operant conditioning, like Skinnerian, B.F. Skinner kind of approach to learning. Okay, so for instance, here's operant conditioning. I want to teach Fifi how to sit. And so what do? I go, Fifi, sit. I give her a little hand command, a little voice command. And what's Fifi do? Nothing. She looks at me and kind of drools a little bit. So I go, Fifi, sit, with the hand command, voice command. And then I push her little doggy butt down. Now you have to use both hands on Fifi. She's a good side. Oh, push your little doggy butt down. And then give her a treat. Okay. So what am I doing? This is operant conditioning. Operant conditioning, you associate a reward or removal of something negative or something like that, right? So a reward or removing something, you get reinforced for your behavior. So Fifi gets reinforced for her behavior. And so pretty soon, after doing the little push the doggy butt down, give her the treat kind of deal, pretty soon I can go, Fifi, sit. Fifi sits. I'm increasing the probability she's going to sit by having reinforced it multiple times. She's still kind of, maybe kind of in the back of her brain, she's kind of thinking, hey, treats happen when I do stuff like this, okay? What's this have to do with marketing? How about some chewing gum that you bought? And you bought that chewing gum. And you know what? It tasted pretty good. And the flavor lasted a long time. You've been reinforced. That purchase has been reinforced by the quality of the product. You take anything else, right? I mean, I'm talking chewing gum, whatever, smartphones, whatever you want to talk about. So you buy the product, you get the product, and it reinforces you. You're reinforced by the quality of the product, the flavor of that gum, the long-lasting flavor, and you've increased the probability through this operant conditioning approach. You've learned, and you're increasing the probability that you'll buy that brand again because it reinforced you. Okay, that's operant conditioning. B.F. Skinner kind of conditioning. Hey, does the name Pavlov ring a bell? That was a psych joke. Maybe, did you get that psych joke? That was a psych joke. Let me tell you about Pavlov, Russian guy. Pavlov took Fifi. Okay, well, I don't know. It was about 1900. Fifi was just a baby back then. Okay, maybe, okay. Pavlov took Fifi, and what did Pavlov do? You remember this? Remember the story? Pavlov would have this food stuff, and he'd show Fifi that food stuff, whatever powder, whatever it was. He showed Fifi that stuff. And you know what Fifi would do? She'd start to salivate automatically. So that food powder was the unconditioned stimulus. Fifi had a natural response to that food powder, started getting ready for lunch. Okay. And then what did Pavlov do? Well, he associated the food with a bell. That's where the joke comes in. Does the name Pavlov ring a bell? Okay. He associated that food item with the ringing of a bell. So the food item was the unconditioned stimulus. Fifi had a natural response to that. The bell was the conditioned stimulus. It got associated with that food. And pretty soon, you know what? Oh, which hand? Pavlov could just ring the bell and Fifi would start to salivate. That's classical. That's classical conditioning, Pavlovian conditioning. Does that happen? Do customers, consumers learn that way in the marketplace? We had this guy, he wanted to teach at Gonzaga years ago. He was what was he? Paul, what was his name? Joel Dubois, Communication Research Manager. Here's what Joel said. I talked to him years ago for working here at Gonzaga. He didn't have a union card though. What's the union card? He didn't have a PhD. So Joel, Communication Research Manager at Coke a few years ago, he said, we nominate Pavlov as the father of modern advertising. What did Pavlov do? He took a neutral object, that was the bell. He associated with something meaningful, a meaningful object, that was the food, and made it, the bell, made the neutral object a symbol of something else. He imbued it with imagery and gave it added value. That is what we do today in modern advertising, he said. What's he getting at there? Maybe you kind of caught it. The unconditioned stimulus, automatic response to that item. You think about exciting music and pictures and fun with friends, what stuff that's shown in advertising. What does the puppy have to do with Cottonelle toilet paper? Well, the puppy is the unconditioned stimulus, and the toilet paper is the conditioned stimulus. The puppy, what's the response? Oh, it's soft and fluffy. Okay. And the idea is that response gets transferred to the toilet paper. Oh, it's soft and fluffy. I mean, what are puppies and babies? This is Charmin. What do babies have to do? My favorite brand. What are babies? Oh, look, it even tells you. Oh, look at the baby. It's squeezably soft, just like Charmin, puppies and babies. And you see this all the time in advertising. Let me show you. I just have to find it now. Oh, it's probably hidden, right? Who here knows Makita Power Tools? Yes. Okay. What do these girls have to do with Makita Power Tools? Well, like nothing, really. But they're it's Senorita Makita and Ms. Makita. Yes. And what do they have to do with power tools? Like nothing, but they're the unconditioned stimulus. You see the girls, I don't know what you do, but you kind of go, oh, yeah, that's kind of interesting. And transferring the kind of attention, excitement, I don't know, that is stimulated by those Makita girls, Senorita and Ms. Makita, to those power tools. That's classical. That's classical conditioning. Music, pictures, situations, activities. You associate the product with these things you have a natural, automatic response to, like the food, like the babies, like the puppies, like the Makita girls. Okay, and imbue the neutral object, like toilet paper, like power tools, with more meaning. How about that? You know, consumers learn, you learn that way. It's another way you learn. We've got cognitive, rational, logical, taking information, restructuring it, working with it. We got operant, being reinforced, your behavior being reinforced in some way by the quality of the product, whatever, the experience at the restaurant. But, you know, you think about it. Okay, and then classical, where you have this automatic response. Team that up with something kind of neutral and have that neutral thing take on the response that that other thing produced automatically. Well, okay, I'm kind of like that topic. It's kind of interesting, don't you think? So let me pretend like nothing ever happened here. Hang on. So here we are. We're going through these items, sampling of some items that are within the person, intrapersonal and psychological kind of things. So we did, let me get some of the shadow off of that. There we go. We did learning, get a little book version of that on page 124. Now, how about motivation on page 121? And you know what? One way to think about motivation is needs and wants that you have, lacks or deficiencies, real or perceived. It produces problem recognition. The needs produce problem recognition and direct you in a ways you go to solve the problem. Does that all ring? Does that all ring a bell? Let me go to not Pavlov again. Okay. Let me go to this. This is the bell I was trying to ring. The PSSP model, the hierarchy of effects, hierarchy of needs model. Okay. And we've done that. You know, we got these physiological, safety, social, personal needs, and they can be motivators to behavior. That's kind of that whole idea of this hierarchy of needs, the PSSP model. So you've been through that, okay? Already been exposed to that in that chapter, okay? So that's motivation. Next comes perception. And there it is, okay, perception. So, okay, we got learning a little, taste of that. Motivation, yeah, you've seen that with the PSSP model. Perception, what's perception? Perceptions can be unique to the individual. And here's a way to think about it. Sensation is sort of on the surface, you know, coming in through your senses, taste, touch, sight, sound, you know, how many you got, whatever, you know, extra, whatever, sixth sense, whatever. So perception, it's unique to the individual, you know, so sensations on the surface. Perception happens when that sensation moves into your brain. You got what I'm saying? You know, you got your receptors picking up sensations out there, taste, touch, smell, sight, whatever. But when it's brought into your brain, your brain influences it, shapes it, and it can be unique to you. So what am I getting at here? You can see what you want to hear. Oh, no. Can I do that again? You can see what you want to see. You can hear what you want to hear. Okay. And how's that work? I mean, so you got the sensations coming in, but prior memories, expectations, past experience, whatever can shape your perception of things. And they can be unique to you, different than what other folks might be picking up. Okay, so perception, internal, inside the individual. Okay, let's see if we can actually move this without knocking something over and see if it really Oh, that's working, kind of, yeah. Who here has an attitude at this very moment? You know, what is an attitude? Page 125. Those are all page numbers in the book, right? Chapter 5. So attitude, you hear about attitudes. I can measure attitudes. One way to think about an attitude is it's a viewpoint about something. A viewpoint about something, an attitude. And marketers will like to measure attitudes. Attitude toward my brand, my company, whatever it might be. So in 125, you get a little taste of that, but here's something. I don't think this is there. Think you'll do. If you want to measure someone's attitude, get an assessment of their attitude towards something, their viewpoint about something, you want to probably check on these 3 things. What do they think about it? This is like cognitive, rational stuff. What do they think about it? You know, cognitive sort of things. What do they feel about it? Now we're getting into emotion. So thinking is like believing, cognitive, rational kind of stuff. How about feeling? Feeling is affective, you know, emotion kind of things. And then if you want to round it out, you know, I can know what you think about something, what you believe. I can know what you feel about it, some emotional response. But what do? You know, do you buy my brand? Do you buy my competitor's brand? And so that kind of rounds it out. Behavior is a good indication of attitude, thinking, feeling, and doing, the behavior part of it, is a very good indicator of attitudes. Okay, now here's something I do at this spot. And what I do is take a little side trip off into, shall we see what it says here? I can hardly wait. Oh, demographics. Oh, you can't see it here. Let me show you after I put my armpit up over the camera here. You know, who knows how good I'll get at this in 4 or 5 years when I'm long gone. Gonzaga, probably. Okay, there it is. Demographics. Why am I putting it there? Well, the idea being that your demographic situation is sort of internalized. You have your sex, your race, your religion, your education, your occupation. These kinds of things are internalized. They're inside of you, so to speak. Okay, and that's why I've stuck it in there. I've got a little piece of chapter 3, some stuff in chapter 5, and that's what I put there. You know, page 73 through 78 in chapter 3, page 129 to 30, a little piece there, a couple pages in chapter 5. You know, so I'm going to do this, and I'm going to show you a couple things here. This is like, well, here. Let me see if I can get this up here where you can see it too. So that's what I'm doing. Here's what I'm doing. When I do this in a live situation, I make it kind of a guessing game. I show you some fun demographic facts. If that's an oxymoron, I don't know. Fun demographic facts. I show you the answer to the demographic question, and you give me the question. Okay? So here's what I've got here. I've got these fun demographic facts, and here's the answer. Rural, and then urban. And then what this says, it says west to the, oh, no, it says northeast. It says northeast, that's an arrow going west and an arrow going south. I don't know if you can see those are arrows. You know, can you tell those are arrows? Maybe not. So we got rural to urban with an arrow, urban to suburban with an arrow. We got the Northeast heading with an arrow heading west and the Northeast heading south. What's the question? Where do people, these are US demographics, okay? These are fun US demographic facts. Where do people live? That's the question. And over the centuries, there's been the movement from rural to urban, okay? And the last decades, last 80 decades, there's been movement from urban to suburban. And then also over the centuries, of the United States, there's been this movement from the Northeast of the United States heading westward, of course, the march west, and then the drift to the south, movement to the south. And here's a little visual depiction of this that kind of gets this across. This is a census year, so I'm sure this has moved, will move when they finally digest all the census information. But look at this. This is the center of population gravity in the US. It's like if you could balance the US at a certain point, here's where the balance point would be, looking at the population of the United States. And so what you see here, here's this march westward. I mean, back in the beginning, here's these are, each one of these are census years, okay? And so there we are, centered back there in, New York, pretty much. Maryland, Washington, D.C., well, maybe New York's farther north. But there's where it's kind of centered. And so there's been this march westward, 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 and then veering south as population moved to the more to the southern states, California, Texas, and those places. And in 2010, the last census, that's where the balance point was, right there in Missouri, a place called Plato, located the center of population was near Plato, Missouri. That's how you say it in Missouri. So that's where it is. I'll expect the 2010 a little further west yet, and a little further to the south, move a little bit. Maybe it'll still be in the state of Missouri. Okay, so where do people live? You didn't do very well on that one. No offense. Let's see, what's the next one here? Can I do this without making a big, oh, there's the answer. 28 to 30%, somewhere in there, approximately 28% of the US population. That could be all kinds of things, couldn't it? Would you like to know what it is? Have a guess? 28, 30%? What could be all kinds of things? You're probably wrong. I'm sorry, you're probably wrong with your guess. It's a kind of an interesting statistic. That's the percent of the US population, somewhere 28, 30%, I don't know. The percent of the adult US population, where's he going with this? What could it be? That has a 4-year college degree or higher. Yeah. And I expect you would have, that estimate, that number you'd estimate a lot higher. Think about your cohort, and the people but it's only 28, 30% of the US population. That's kind of interesting from a marketer's perspective. Of course, the geographic locations, we talked about geographic segmentation variables. Marketers, where do people live? And what goes on with their living? You think about subcultures in these different areas. This is interesting because everybody doesn't have a college degree. And you're communicating with a lot of folks. And so it's your job to kind of get the message to where they're at. They might not, So you might have to talk to them where they're at. That college degree might not be part of their experience. Okay. I think you missed that one too. Sorry. Let's see. Number 3. Oh, God, you got to get number 3. What's number 3? In 1950, it was about 24%. In 1980, 55. 1995, 60%. Today, maybe 70, although it might have turned a corner a little bit. What could that be? I'll give you a hint. Some have called it the biggest sociological event of the prior century. How's that? The biggest sociological event of the prior century. It's married women with children under 18 years old, drum roll, working outside the home. So married women with children that work outside the home. Biggest sociological event of the prior century. My mother was out here cutting edge, like in the 50s. She was working outside the home, left me home with my brother to raise hell. We managed to do that. So what I think from a marketing perspective, and let me give you some numbers here. I mean, here was something that seems to be going on with this. Well, let's do from a marketing perspective. How about daycare, delis, frozen dinners? How about maid service? How about appliances? I don't know if they make these so much this way anymore. At one point, appliance manufacturers make a lot of appliances with textured surfaces instead of a nice smooth porcelain surface. Textured surfaces. Why? So fingerprints wouldn't show up. Yeah, who had time to clean these things? Nobody's home to do it. You know, mom's working, dad's working, kids are raising hell, you know, whatever, like my brother and I did. So, think about from a marketer's perspective. How about wearing apparel? Now you're out in public instead of hiding out in home with a house dress. What the heck is a house dress? My mother had some of those. She wasn't wearing them much because she was working. But so everything, food to wearing apparel to daycare to services, all kinds of things impacted by that sociological phenomenon. Here was a more recent, let's see. In 1967, it said it was about 67 hit 50%. In 1999, it went to about 77% actually. And 2012, maybe it went down to 71%. Now I said about 70%, maybe it's 70, 69. It's diminished from a peak in 1999, which is kind of interesting. So that's a demographic phenomenon. And I don't think you got that one either. Sorry. Let's see what we got over here. Oh, approximately 38%. What could that be? Approximately 38%. Well, It's the highest in the world, apparently. And I give you some numbers here too. Some of this stuff, page 70, I put the page number. Maybe, okay, I'm not going to give you a specific page number. They put them on that other overhead. Little piece of chapter 3, a little piece of chapter 5. I'll go back to that other overhead. I'm not going to give you a bunch of individual page numbers. But, well, here's one though. On page 130, it mentions this, I think this number, but supposedly it's the highest in the world. That's right. It's divorce rate in the United States, which of course is good for marketing because, little Johnny in a happy home with mom and dad there, he gets 3 presents for Christmas. But if there's a home of divorce, Johnny gets 3 presents from mom, he gets 3 presents from dad. It's good for business. Okay. So yeah, the divorce rate, and that has some obvious impacts in the marketplace. I mean, maybe that wasn't that far off with my little Christmas story. Okay. Which leads to, the FLC. Okay, we've left percentages. Now we're at initials. And what is the FLC? Would you like to know? I'm saying that this divorce rate phenomenon has led to a new and improved FLC. I'm going to show you the FLC. I'll give you a page number for it even. Page 29, I think. Yeah, it looks like 29. Oh, 129, sorry. Here's the FLC, it's the family life cycle. And down through the center of this is the traditional family life cycle. But you can think about it as people move through stages of their lives. A young person, you think about needs and wants and way you live your life. A single person versus young married with no kids versus young married, wow, you get kids, holy cow, life has changed. Middle-aged with kids, middle-aged without kids. Out here it says, what's it say? Older married, older unmarried. They used to call this the sole survivor. That's kind of a depressing kind of deal, but that's the traditional family life cycle. You think of how your needs and wants change as you move through that. Well, here's the new and improved family life cycle. That's all this stuff up here. Young divorced without children, middle-aged divorced, divorced. Down here we got young divorced with children, middle-aged divorced, divorced. Added that in recent history because of the prevalence of divorce. Okay, so how do you determine stage of the family life cycle? I was looking for a diagram that showed a picture of this, but it seems to have vaporized. How do you determine stage of the family life cycle? And and if you check on page 129, it kind of gives you the idea. It's the marital status, your marital status, single, married, okay. Age, so young, middle-aged, older. And then age of children in the family. Okay. So those are the determinants of the family life cycle. And the marital status thing has been upgraded by divorce and cycling out into divorce and back into marriage and that kind of stuff from that picture that I showed you. Do I need to show you again? Might as well. There it is, page 129. Doesn't show, well, maybe it does. Does it show you this? Check it, 129 and 130 at least talks about it there. Okay, the FLC. Okay. Found it. Family life cycle factors, marital status, age of children in the household. I'm glad I could show that to you because I thought I'd thrown it in the garbage. I don't know what happened to it. Okay. And at the very bottom here, what the heck is that? That's number 6, okay? Demographic fun, demographic facts. What could it be? Well, several of you probably already noticed that it's a snake because there's this little forked tongue. And it's a boa constrictor, okay. It's a boa constrictor. And of course, you can tell that that's a pig. Right there, the boa constrictor's lunch is being digested. Moving on out the tail end of that. Let's not be too graphic about this. Moving out the tail end of that boa constrictor. What is this about? What is this a picture of? Should I give you more clues? Okay. Here was a speech at a college graduating class, 1979, college graduating class. And it said, the guy who did the speech said, your generation will go through history like a pig through a python. There's the pig, there's the python. It's a picture of the baby boom. I don't know if you get tired of hearing about the baby boom. Here, let me jazz this up a little bit here. There, I've jazzed it up. It says 63, 53, 73. So there we go. We got some ages across the horizontal axis. And here's the mostly digested, they're on the way out the tail end of this python, 73 years old. The peak is like 63 years old, 1957 was kind of a peak year it's a birth rate phenomenon. There was this impact in the marketplace of accelerated birth rate, and that's the boomers. So here they are, the range of ages of the boomers. And so what you think about what impact they've had in the marketplace, like in 1955-ish, the price of raccoon skins, little bandit-faced critters, the price of raccoon skins went from like 25 cents a pound to $8 a pound for raccoon pelts, skins. Why did that happen? 1955. My brother Greg and I, God rest his soul, there we are with our little puppies. Look what's on our heads. Those are Davy Crockett raccoon skin caps. Apparently, they were the real deal. Davy Crockett was a big deal. So think about the impact of the baby boom. There we are, little baby boomers. Okay, well, we're not quite babies, but me and Greg in our raccoon Davy Crockett hats. Let's see. In the 60s, consumption of, we've talked about hot dogs before. Hot dogs rose from like 3/4 of a billion pounds a year to 2 billion pounds a year. That was in the earlier 60s, okay? In the late 60s, okay, impact on raccoon pelts and all, you name it. Hot dog sales, you name it. How about consumption of oregano? Late 60s, like 1969. Annual consumption of oregano soared by 2,000%. Why was that? They were smoking it. No, I'm kidding. It's Italian spice, okay, they put it on pizza. So, Okay, and so it goes on. And you think about boomers now, discretionary income, leisure time, health. Okay, invest in health kind of stocks and facilities. Okay, it should be a gold mine as these dudes are falling apart. Dudes and dudesses, right, are falling apart. So they've been kind of catered to over their lives, and now it's leisure and health and the fitness thing that flared up 28, 30 years ago, whatever. Well, I thought this was kind of interesting. We've mentioned this before. I thought this was is that funny? The black shirt right there. Ha ha, funny stuff. Okay, here's a more, that's the baby boom. An impact in the marketplace, you bet. Here's a more adult. Okay, what's that? Oh, you can't see what I'm pointing. What's that? That's the boomers' babies. That's the echo boom. That's the boomlet. The boomers' baby is back there. And here is a more sophisticated picture. It's a birth rate phenomenon. Check it out. Where do you get it? You get it in page 77. I think the idea of the baby boom. The peak was like I already said it once before, 1957, something like that. So it kind of goes from 46 to 64, peak in 57. There they are, those little boomers. But because of the boomers moving through history, this pig through a python, here's the seventh fun demographic fact: the proliferation of oldsters. Let's look at this one right here. This one right here. It says moves from a fifth to a third. Is that right? Of adults 54 years old and older. We're probably there about now, okay? In 20 years. No, that's 40 years. 40 years from about a fifth of the population in 1980 to a third of the population in 2020, this year or something. That's an estimate from a while back, but you can check it out. But from a fifth of the population to a third of the population, 55 years and older. And so you got the grain, back to the investing in health kinds of stuff and think about leisure time and discretionary income and some of these things. Okay. So that was number 7. Number 7 was the grain. Where is it? There it is. This model right here. The grain or balding of the population, because the boomers moving through history. And there we are, back to the outline we're working on. This is going to be a killer lecture, I'm set up. I've told you how I do this. Got to finish this off. So who knows? This will be how many days this might work for. But anyway, okay. The next, we did demographics, right? They're the bones of an individual. We talked about that before. You want to put flesh on the bones. Okay, and I gave you some page numbers there where I found some of this stuff, chapter 3 and 5. But here's psychographics. You've already done that. Psychographics, lifestyle, how folks spend their time and how they spend their money. You can use psychographics to flesh out the bones of demographics. And it's internal, captures personality, stuff inside the individual. These AIO measures, remember that? AIO, activities, interest, opinions, lifestyle, psychographics. There it is, okay? So we've done that, talked about that with regard to segmentation. Variables. Well, what's next here? Should we slide down another notch? Okay, so that's looking at a collection of intrapersonal psychological things that impact consumers making decisions. Now, let's see what we can do here. I want to look at some sociological things that impact decision making in a general sort of way. So here, the book doesn't even mention this, actually give you page numbers on it, but sociological items between people kind of items, they don't mention the family. What? Okay. Most decisions are family decisions. That's kind of a blanket statement that has been made about the family. Do you think about the family as a group making decisions? Do kids have influence on making decisions? Yeah, you can think about personally. I mean, there was some research that was done. Half the households say that children age 6 to 11 are the experts on breakfast cereal, cookies, candy, and gum. That's half. A quarter of the households say the kids are also the experts on snacks, ice cream, macaroni and cheese, corn and tortilla chips, soft drinks, and frozen pizza. I was just looking at food items, you know. Do kids have an influence on decisions? You can think about it personally. Yeah. I mean, yeah, okay, I hit the wrong button there. You can think about it personally. You know, you making decisions, your family making decisions. Were you kind of consulted on maybe a new house they bought? How about an automobile? How about a sound system or home theater or something like that? Okay, so kids get consulted. But here's another thing when you think about the family. You got the dynamics of family decision-making. But they talk about the family of orientation and the family of procreation. And the family of orientation is kind of the one most of you are probably kind of pulling away from. It's a family you grew up in. But think about this. Back at home, what brand of toilet paper? Okay, my favorite. What brand of toilet paper did your family buy? How about what brand of ketchup? How about wait, I'm stuck on food items, but you know, whatever it might be. What brand do you buy? Toothpaste. I guess that's not food. Toilet paper and toothpaste aren't food items, are they? For most people. What brand do you buy now that you're kind of pulling away? That's the family of orientation. So some of this stuff carries forward. You know, the brands your family bought of toothpaste and toilet paper and ketchup, and who knows where it might go. So that's the influence carried forward. And then procreation, that's the family you produce yourself. So you have to get with that pretty soon. Okay, so family. Yeah, an important influence on decision making. As we sample these categories of items that impact it. Family. I'm not going to put my armpit over the camera this time. Reference groups. Here's, you know, yeah, do groups have an impact on decision making? Groups you're in. And yeah, they've done experiments where they've had folks in the experiment, they were in on the thing, and you know, they bring someone in to the experiment, and the folks that are in on it were told, oh, you pick, you know, they're looking at like blue suits or just some neutral kind of, I don't know, some typical kind of product. These were suits, I think, back years ago. And, you know, and there were folks in the experiment that were in on the experiment. And they would pick, oh, all the suits, they had 3 suits, they're all identical. But, you know, they'd start messing around looking at it and they go, oh yeah, I think that this one's the one, this one's got, and what would happen? The group would sway the decision of the folks brought into the experiment in the direction of what the group thought. You know, picked that one suit, it was just like all the rest of them, but they picked that one and pulled decision-making of the folks brought into the experiment in that direction. Okay, so yeah, do groups have an impact on you? And you think about groups that, so you do it this way, groups that you belong to. Yeah, they have an impact on decision making. I played with that experimentally and showed it to be the case. But here's a couple other ways to think about groups that maybe you haven't considered. You got the group you're part of, but you could be influenced by groups you're not even part of. Okay? Like, you know, you could want to be like a certain group. I know a lot of you'd like to be like college professors. I can tell you where I buy my snazzy button-down shirts, you know. You can kind of be like me. You know, so you might aspire to certain groups, and that could shape your decision making. You might be part of it. Well, maybe this is where college professors come in. Okay, an aspirational group. Maybe we're a dissociative group. Anything that smacks of being part of that group, you're going to avoid it. I don't know, you know, what are motorcycle gangs? I don't know what it would be. You know, some group you don't want to look like you're part of that thing, and so you avoid, you know, things that might link you to that group. Okay, so that's kind of an more interesting perspective on group influences. It's not just groups you're part of. It could be these aspirational groups or avoidance groups, dissociative group. Okay, that you don't want to be linked to. So going back here, so I give you a page number there. Page 131 kind of talks about that. Pull it down to, opinion leaders. What do you think? Marketers love opinion leaders, you know, and they've done different things, you know, like when these are influential individuals that people look to, people respect their opinion leaders. And so marketers, for instance, when 3M first came out with Post-it notes, new and improved scratch paper back 40 years ago, whenever they did that, who did they send free samples to? Who were the opinion leaders that they sent free samples of Post-it notes to? That's right, executive secretaries at organizations, the boss's secretary, and thought they would sway opinion about the product. Erase-mate pens. Years ago, when they first came out with an erasable ballpoint pen, it's kind of an amazing thing. Who they send free samples to? Who they thought were opinion leaders? They sent them to senators, English teachers, and professional baseball players. I was trying to get on board with that, you know, like the ball player is signing a baseball. Oops, he misspelled his own name, goes back and erases it. So it could be whatever. Okay. They've done stuff like give like with cabbies, you know, cab drivers back in the day, they had like secret writer kind of things. If you're talking up Ford vehicles, you know, in some city, they do some program like that. You know, let them know you talk up Ford vehicles with people in your cab, and the secret writer could be there, and you end up making $50, kind of stimulating opinion leadership. Okay, and you see this a fair amount. You know, how about the doctor dressed up? You know, whatever, guy dressed up, woman dressed up like a doctor with a stethoscope around her neck, and you know, as an opinion leader, because they're doctors, you know. Okay. Opinion leaders, that's a between person, sociological. So we got family, reference group, opinion leader. What else do we have down here? Oh, social. Now we got so we got group factors under interpersonal. Then we have social, cultural, and social class. Do we have social classes in the United States? Well, you know what? little kids, and there's page numbers, you can read those, right? That says 131, reference groups 131, opinion leaders 132. Little kids can identify structure, social structure, a hierarchy, like little 5-year-olds, little kids. So, yeah, I mean, there's like this strata kind of thing. There's a social class kind of thing in the United States, even. And how would you measure social class? Dollars, assets, wealth? Yeah, but here's the deal. You can check out on page around 131 there. You can actually have more cash than class. See what I'm saying? You can have more cash than class, and vice versa, more class than cash. That's kind of using that phrase, kind of memorable phrase, cash versus class. So just dollars, assets, wealth, resources, whatever, isn't always that good of a measure of class, indicator class structure. Here's what the book proposes, and I think it makes a lot of sense. How about these 3 variables? Okay. And it kind of neutralizes the cash thing a little bit. Occupation, but it gets a class structure. Occupation, education, and type and location of housing, like this house I'm sitting in right now here in the ghetto of Spokane. Well, it's kind of the ghetto. The ghetto's really not, there's a pecking order. They're more ghetto-ish on the other side of Monroe. On this side of Monroe, 1 block away from Monroe. Okay, no, that's all right. Okay, it's all about equal, but okay, do it again. Occupation, education, type, and location of housing. Better indicator than just dollars. Well, that type of thing. Let's see. I'm not going to do the armpit. I'm going to flip this around back to my display there. And I'll reach over here. That's social class. Culture. What the heck is culture? Culture is here's like a definition of culture. And you're in trouble right off the bat when the definition starts out with saying it's a complex. Okay, good luck with it. It's a complex of intangible items like ideas and values and attitudes, and tangible items like symbols, monuments, clothing, food. Okay, you with me? So that says page 132, culture, a between people kind of thing. And culture, a complex of intangible items, ideas, values, attitudes, and tangible items, symbols, monuments, clothing, food, whatever, that's transmitted. Okay, there's more to this definition. It goes on. Transmitted from generation to generation. Oh, God, really? Generation to generation. Okay. And what transmits culture from generation to generation? I'm just doctoring this up to make it a little tidier. Okay, there it is. What do you suppose? This complex of intangibles, ideas, values, beliefs, tangibles, symbols, food, clothing, transmitted from generation to generation. What does the transmitting of culture? That's right. It's called the cultural transfusion triad. Was that transmission triad? Well, whatever. Cultural transfusion. I like transfusion. Triad. That means there's 3 things. What could it be? The family. Darn tootin'. The family. Moving culture down to the next generation. The educational institutions. How about that? Educational institutions. Yeah. And religious institutions, the cultural transfusion triad, what moves culture from generation to generation, this complex of intangibles and tangibles. That can influence, okay, so we're looking at sampling of things here. This array of things, a sample of them, array of things that can impact this decision process. We got these psych things, intra. We got these soc things, inter. Let's see if there's any more inter. Nope, we're done with, let's pull this off. We're done with a little sampling there of psych and soc things, intra and inter. Now we're down here to situation. Situation variables, 134. It says a number 2 down there. I don't know what that means. That's just a page number, I guess. And of course, under situation, what do we have? We have anticipated, that says anticip, and unanticipated situations. So anticipated situations. You might be surprised at this. Several of you are going to graduate from Gonzaga. You might not believe that. Several of you will graduate from Gonzaga. And you can anticipate that. You can get ready for that. You can go and pick out the new Porsche that you want. When you get that job, you can start planning on that Porsche that you want to get. Another anticipated, you anticipate a baby coming. You got time to get ready for it. And so we got that arrow from situation. It goes up to impacting the process in a general way. Who knows, what it does, but it has an influence. All these things. There's a sampling of things influence this decision, and then I also show this arrow going right to choice. For instance, that's where unanticipated things maybe come in more than anything. You've picked out the Porsche, right? You picked out the Porsche, and what happens? The job that you're lined up for falls through. It directly impacts your choice. You go to the grocery store. Hey, they got a smoking sale on your competitor, on the competing brands. Not your brand, but it's a smoking sale. So the unanticipated circumstance of a big sale going on, it can impact choice. Being out of your brand and you have to go to brand X can impact your choice. Okay, so that's the idea of situation variables. Ones you can anticipate, look forward to. Ones that surprise you, they're unanticipated. Geez Louise, okay? There's this array of things. Chapter 5, sampling. I keep saying that because this is incomplete. But we got the intra-site, we got the inter-soc, we got the situation variables, a little sampling of them. And they impact this process. Besides those things in the prior outline, they impact the speed and the way. We got these things that impact this, and God knows, but they impact it. They have an influence. Don't you agree? Thinking introspectively, looking at yourself as a consumer, you sat back and looked at it, you might see a lot of this stuff coming into play. As a matter of fact, there's an assignment that goes along with this we'll get to eventually, not today. So they call it consumer behavior, But I guess one thing to note, that they don't behave, okay? That the consumers don't behave, not like you'd like them to. There's a lot of things that impact these decisions, and there is free will on the part of the consumer. But understanding this role that people play as consumers, can help you do a better job of marketing, segmenting markets, applying a marketing concept, developing products and what communication, you name it. So they don't behave like you'd like them to, but it's a lot of items impact this process. But wait, there's more, because look over here. Here we are back to this swell thing. And here, underneath here, what have I got? Can I get it off of there? Oh, there you are. The marketer. With a little bit of hair, not too much. Let's zero in on that marketer. A little bit of hair, not too much. And what are you doing? You're providing stimuli to that decision maker. There's the decision process that decision maker is going through. And there's all that stuff on the right-hand side over there that's impacting that decision. And then there's this stuff from the other diagram, the other outline on this topic, and more things beyond that, because this is just a sampling. And you're providing stimuli. What? Oh, communication, information, products, the 4 Ps. And you can think about that offering that you're handing out there, trying to zero in, segment the markets a little bit, break it down so you know these people better, whatever you're doing. But the stimuli, you're providing stuff to that market. And look what I show there. It says, can you read that? It's underlined. It says filter. Filter? What the heck? It's bad enough that all this other stuff is going on, but then a filter? Okay. So on page 123, you get a little information on this filter. Because I'm trying to break through and I'm trying to influence decision making, and I'd like the consumers to behave, but they don't. And no, don't do that. Come on back. Come on back. Sorry. This is like the mega lecture. I don't know if it's the lecture from hell, but I'm set up and it's one topic and I'm going to do the whole darn thing if it kills all of this. Here's the filter. This is page 123. I think I might have added a piece to it. What do we got here? Here, I'll give you an example. I'll just use communication as an example. This is pretty much what it deals with, but communication have these selectivity mechanisms. One thing is you've only got so many terabytes of storage in your brain. I've got gigabytes. I got kilobytes. Okay, whatever. You only have so many terabytes of storage. You're trying to, it's kind of self-preservation. Selective exposure. Let's say that you're watching television and the commercial break comes on, and I'm providing you with some information during that commercial break for my brand of coffee. And what do? You zap the channel. What? I want you to listen to me. No, you zap the channel, or you go in the kitchen, get a sandwich. You're not even there where you're exposed to my message. Let's say, next step down, that you don't zap the channel, you don't go get a sandwich, and my message is there kind of where you are in your environment. You're exposed to it, but you pick up a magazine and you start to read the magazine. You're not paying attention to what I'm saying. It's not coming through, okay? Let's say you don't zap it, you're exposed to it. Let's say you don't pick up a magazine, you're paying attention, sort of, and you're kind of listening. Oh, it's an advertisement for coffee. But you know what? It's UBAN coffee. I'm UBAN, but you think you perceive it wrong. Back to that perception being unique. You color it by your memories and expectations and prior experience, whatever. And for some reason, you think it's Maxwell House or some broad, national brands or something. So you perceive it wrong. So let's say you are exposed to, you don't leave the room, you pay attention, you don't pick up the magazine, you perceive it accurately. Oh, it was you got it. It was a U-Bahn advertisement. And now we're down here to selective retention. You're in the grocery store and you're thinking, what was that brand? I mean, it sounded like a pretty good deal. I mean, a good product. It was Maxwell House, wasn't it? You're bringing this information up out of memory, and you screw it up at that point. No, it's U-Bahn. It's U-Bahn. That's my brand, and you didn't get through I didn't make it through the filter. The exposure, attention, perception, retention filters to have some influence on your decision making. You filtered me out, along the way. I got to get past this to communicate with you. Holy guacamole. I'm not sure if you know how long we just spent doing this. I've got about 100 minutes. Golly. Okay. Well, digest that as best you can. See where that fits into your life. And we'll talk about it more. But thanks for your patience. Thanks for playing the game, because once I get stuff in here, it's time to rock and roll. Okay? Like they say in the old country, arrivederci.